Well, we're live at 11:05 on BC. This is Spirit Cars, and this is 11:05, give or take a little bit. We missed a couple days. We were just busy, and then we tried to do a 11:05 yesterday, and the internet was just like not cooperating very well. I think part of it went up, part of it didn't. So it's up there. We're going to delete that, but we're going to go ahead and we do have internet service in here, so we're going to get that all connected together, get a better transmission, I guess. That would make it cleaner and less jumping around if I'm jumping around. We're on Alan's car. This is Tweety. I think I'm going to kind of show the differences between a show car and a new car. We build new cars generally around here. They're new hot rod cars. But once in a while we'll build a show car. And you can go to the dealership and you buy a brand new car. It's pretty nice, but it's not necessarily a show car. Now, if you kept that car maybe 20, 30, 40, 50, 80 years and a nice climate-controlled environment, did nothing with it, and brought it back out after that amount of time and it was in new condition, that would be a show car. But on the issue of show cars, it's just take it to a level of new car acceptability and then take it 10 more steps above. And in the world today, it's, I'm sure I've used this analogy before, we used to get all excited when Evel Knievel jumped over a couple buses and landed and only broke his hip. I mean, now these guys are just doing backflips and everything else with their bikes over and over and over and over and over. The quality of the cars in the last 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, I mean, thanks to a lot. I mean, we had our Barrises and our Starbirds and our Ross, and they did, and a lot more other names, did great job, but now we got the Fooses and then even the Coddingtons, and there's just so many names that took it to a new level. So that's where we're at. We're at that level, and that's what it takes now. So anyway, working on Alan's car, we're just gonna go through some of the challenges in here and some of the things that we've done. And I think we titled this, Alan, this one's for you, because we really need to go over some specifics here, so I guess everybody can just be part of our helping Alan build this car. He's going to make the decisions. We've had people give ideas, and there's good ideas. It's just you can only pick so many good ideas. I say all the time, there's not one right idea, one right way. There are wrong ways, but there's multiple different right ways to do it. This car was pretty much gathered up, say 20 years ago, maybe longer than that, 25 years ago. It's a Total Performance anniversary body, which was their 25th anniversary. This is Spirit's 25th anniversary, by the way. We've modified the body, made it kind of our way. This is a CCR frame. Bill Kiefer, California Custom Roadsters. I mean, they drove the Tbucket industry as well as Total Performance and Mickey Laurie and a lot of them guys. Even Speedway, Bill Smith, way back in the day, offered bodies. But we're a little bit past that now. So Spirit's putting our touch to it. CCR frame, had the radiator kind of hanging off the front sort of, but it wasn't hanging off the front. It really wasn't fitting, so we've made it fit. We added these side pieces. I just wanted a better bracing the way it is, so we took and made some aluminum pieces. They're drilled and dimpled, lightened them. So this will go onto here. It'll look good. I mean, it's going to have a yellow grill shell on it. So kind of, do we polish these, clean them up and polish them, or do we paint them yellow? We'll see when we get the grill shell done. We took and made this is something we ought to offer, Josh. We made a shroud here for the radiator. It's not fully put on, but this is a shroud that we made. It's out of aluminum. And I believe we're going to actually just go ahead and weld this to the radiator, and then we can mount our fan onto the grill shroud. I like it. I like it a lot, and it's probably something we ought to think about offering, because we do the same radiator for most all of the T's. On the front here, we've got some things. Alan got a bracket that kind of stuck that alternator somewhere out over here, and we're not that exaggerated, but we brought it back in tighter, so we like that. Changed up, had a pretty neat air cleaner, but I like this one. So this is made for a single carburetor, so it needed a base plate, so we had to design a base plate, which we did. Built the rings, got everything, got it fitting good. We'll have to drill a couple holes so it'll bolt into here. But then we've got a magneto here, and this came to like a teardrop in the back, which wasn't going to work out so well. So I kind of cleaned it up, modified that. I've got it right now so that the magneto tucks under there a little bit. I really like it. This would be an Allen call. But you can see in there, once I clean this up, this will be a nice clean edge in yellow. I can recess again back into here some, just so that it fits better and kind of covers a little bit, but doesn't cover it. All the wires are going to come out the back. I don't generally like to give my opinions, but I kind of like it this way better. It'll give you a little more airflow going through. We're going to have to use 2 smaller air cleaners here. We're going to paint this yellow. These are pretty cool valve covers, and it's got this chrome molding. I believe Alan found or talked to the company and maybe talked him into selling them just that molding. If we can get that same molding, that'd be perfect. We can kind of bend it a bit and use that same molding on top of here once it's painted. It's got some grills that go into that. They'll get fastened in after this gets painted yellow. Pretty neat. The front end, again, all of this was 20 plus years old, been sitting in the garage. It's been, one of them, I don't know what I call it, a basket case. What would you call a project, unfinished project that's never been started, but that's pretty much what it was. When it came to us, it had the frame powder coated already and pretty much assembled. But you can see in here, I mean, the bolts don't match. This has got a anodized on it. This has got a little bit of rust here. There's some pits, especially in here. Can you see those pits on the camera? Mm-hmm. Some rust. So Alan's making a decision. Do we go with a drilled, lightened I-beam axle, a chrome I-beam axle instead of this tube axle? That's a 6-inch drop, is it not? I believe so.
Yes.
Calipers nice, backing plate's nice, but do we want to pull it off, and do we want to paint normally? But when we do a car, we'll paint the hubs and paint the rotors. So do we want to paint the top of that yellow? I don't know. You tell me. When it comes to a show car, there is never a stopping point. You can do more and more and more and more. But we're going to change out a lot of the bolts for sure to make them chrome bolts, and move ahead with that. Looks like did we put the covers on, or did it come with this? Did he have the covers?
I think you already had them.
Yeah, they're a little dirty. So did we put the motor in? I don't remember. No, the motor came sitting in it when we got it. So go ahead and it was, the motor was sitting in it, and we start putting it together. We've got some of the sending units put in. It's got a really neat shifter. It's an electronic or a electric shifter. So we're talking about maybe making a little console to mount all that hardware inside there. Got a bit of an issue. It's got a short shaft on it. I've got to get the gauges that Alan got really cool. We're going to show them here in just a second. So it's got a speedo that you can adjust. So we got the sending unit here, but it doesn't, once we put that little torpedo tube in there and get it in with the gear, it just doesn't fit. The cross member's in the way. So I'm hoping that if we put a long shaft on here, that's going to move this back a little bit. I'm not sure. Otherwise, we might need to modify this cross member. And whatever it is, we'll make it work. But programmable speedo, and either way, if it wasn't a programmable speedo and we're putting a cable on there, it would still be in the way. We're doing electric fuel pump, and again, we're just kind of waiting now. These brackets here, pretty cool, or the hangers. So instead of just riveting a regular hanger, we've ordered some of these a little bigger size for the fuel line. The back. To use rear end, so we've had it sitting here, we put it together, and we actually had a quick change rear end housing go over it, and we've seen it dripping a little bit. So rather than let it drip, we're going to go ahead and fix it. So of course, putting a pinion seal in, we took it apart, we're going to do that. well, we found you can kind of see, and this is pretty rough. You can see this thing is pitted pretty good all the way around. So we could put a new seal in, but you're still going to get some weeping coming out of it. So Alan, we need to fix it. I'll look around, see if we can get a used one, but if not, we need to get one for sure. And last thing you want your car, whether it's going to be a show car or just a car sitting in your driveway or in your garage, to be dripping and making little puddles everywhere. So anyway, dealing with that. It's got a bracket for the panhard rod, and panhard rod helps keep your rear end from just flopping over. It's got coilover shocks, and without the panhard rod, it would either fall this way or that way. Without that housing that made it look like a quick change rear end, there was a bracket that bolted onto here, and your panhard rod just came across, mounted to that. We had to figure out a way to do it. We could not mount it to that. I didn't feel good. The housing just kind of goes on there and it's not real secure, and mounting a panhard rod to it is not the ideal situation. So we went ahead and made a bracket. I mean, it's a significant bracket, but so we're going to mount our bracket here. We've got lightning holes in it, and it'll mount to the rear end where the 4-link goes, and then we can run our panhard rod from here over to where the bracket is over here. So we've got this painted, ready to go on. What I want to do next is all the chrome is it's just kind of not nice. So I want to pull these off real quick, and I mean, it's going to go a long way putting it on the polisher, but when you have pits and rust, we'll see what that's going to look like. So I'll take them off. We're going to put chrome bolts here. Do we want to add new shocks or use these shocks? Again, Alan, that's going to be your call. I mean, we can take them off, take them apart, and buff them out. That's the only real good way we're going to be able to get them clean. He's got some, well, they're brackets for the calipers in the back. You can kind of see they're yellow here and plain. They're on now, but we've got some that match the front, which are pretty neat. But it's kind of a mixed match, and I cannot find a rotor yet that matches the bracket backing plate that we have, so I'm going to have to do a little research and doing, but not a big deal. I'm just going to have to sit down, and it's one of those things I'm going to have to sit down and just measure and research and do and find something. We're thinking about, can we turn this down, or can we do that, or so it can be done, we just got to do it. It's got a stainless tank. We've already mounted the sending unit for the gas. Just remember, when you're mounting a unit, I probably could have talked about this before we put it in, but this unit is pretty long and had even an extension. Where you want the sender, you want it in the center so that when it's down all the way, I mean, it's as far as it can go, it's at the bottom. And when it's up all the way and as far as it'll go, it's at the top. So if you're set in the center and get it all lined up that way when you're out of gas, you're out of gas, and when you're full, you're full. Alan got some really cool gauges. I mean, they're pretty cool. The only problem was they didn't fit. So we had talked about it and kind of decided on how we're going to fix this. So what we determined, the bottom of the dash came along right along here. We determined we wanted to follow this line pretty good and fit this center dash right in there, or center gauge right in the center of the dash, and bring this little line, this body line down along it. So I cut that out and I recreated this piece in glass. And too bad we need to get some editing. We need to do edited videos. Then I could do pictures and we could show you how we did that process. But bottom line is, I cut it out, made my shape, had a piece of fiberglass, glassed my glass into the back, the pre-made fiberglass sheet, glassed it in the front. I used some resin and glass to build this lip, then bodywork finished it, and then painted it. We're already breaking our number one rule. We wanted this to be the clean area, so what we've been doing over here for the last 2 days, I've been doing bodywork, sanding, and painting in the assembly area, but it's fine. I talked a little bit yesterday on the video that didn't make it onto the air about painting. Back in the old days, if I just wanted to paint this area right here, which it kind of went up about that far. By the time I had my primer in, my primer was probably about that far. I could have just buffed everything, and when it was old lacquer, the lacquer thinner would bite into the new paint, and the blend would stick. Modern paints are not like that. You have got to sand everything that you're going to put paint over, and sand past. You can kind of even see it's a little bit dull around the edges, even where I haven't painted. So I'm going to go back and wet sand this whole thing. Plenty of clear on it. Plenty of clear on the part that we painted. We painted this a few weeks ago, so it's probably pretty fresh. When you're going into fresh stuff, be aware of lifting and things like that. But if you're going to blend, it's not as easy as back in the old days. Painting is a lot easier than it used to be, except for blending. You got to be a little more specific and careful about it. Make sure you're sanded and use the right materials. So and one other thing, we had a big light strip. Didn't like that. I found this in your stuff, Alan. These are pretty darn cool. So I'm guessing that's what you were going to be planning on using for your tail lights. So we need just a nod on that one. We can get your tail lights installed. They're already LED. We kind of got a bunch of stuff on the paint here, which is probably a no-no, but we got to still buff it one more time. This is going to be the gas filler neck right in the center. It's going to be pretty neat. That's going to be pretty neat. So we're getting close to that. Need to make a decision on the front axle. I'm going to pull some of the other stuff apart, start buffing it, change out the bolts as we go along to make them chrome or stainless, one or the other. Button head maybe in the front on a couple of them, just because I think that'll look good. Not a lot to think about, but you got a few things to think about and decisions to make where to go next. I'm going to finish. I don't know if I want to call this trigger time anymore. All the shadow banning that's going on and censorship that's going on and all the weird stuff that's going on. If you just go to church, you'll go to jail. I mean, you're much better off to go riot in the streets and steal a TV than you are to go to church. The penalties are less anyway. Crazy world we're living in. But it's all under control. Not to worry. I mean, just seriously, I went and visited my son. He'd been staying with me. He actually had a 3-year role in China and was on vacation during the Chinese New Year, which is when the cooties epidemic started, which was in March or somewhere in there, February, March. And you were there just before, Josh. Mm-hmm. You probably brought the whole thing over here. I'm sure they didn't got you monitored and locked up yet. And I was supposed to go. Thank you, Lord. I never did want to go to China, but we were scheduled. I spent my $2,000 for the passports and visas, and luckily we didn't have to go. So anyway, he's home, been home, not going back to China, kind of wound up with his team there, and he works for a big corporation. Now he's went to be on the Walmart team. He still works for the same corporation, but he's on the Walmart team of that corporation. So he's in Rogers, just up the road, used to live there before. It's all good. I went to visit him last weekend. Crazy. I've been pretty much immune. I recognize people get sick, people are dying. I mean, things are real. There's viruses, there's bacteria, there's all kind of influenzas and cancers and all kinds of things. We're going to die at some point. It's appointed for man to die once, and then comes judgment, by the way. So don't freak out over the death. I'd worry about the judgment more than I'd worry about the death part. It's just a medical term. We have a second death that we need to worry more about. So I get over there to Rogers. He's got a really nice house, and it's actually got 10-foot ceilings, so that we're building this door, a custom door, because he just couldn't find one. So we made, I don't know how many trips to Lowe's. And I was in an environment where they take wearing a mask serious. I mean, it was the first time I actually experienced the fear that probably many of you are experiencing, and it was crazy. I'm healthy. I've been around a long time. I know when I'm sick. When I'm sick, I don't go out and cough on people and do. So I get the whole mask thing if you want to protect people. But if you're sick, don't put a mask on and go out in public. Stay home. Get well. I tell my guys here, if you're sick, don't come in. Don't be a hero thing. You're going to work, and get us all sick. That don't help nobody. So that being said, it was just kind of crazy. It just kind of dawned on me that how the entire country can be paralyzed over, it's just, like I tell my grandkids, don't believe anything that you hear, read, or see. Do your own research. Use some cognitive thinking. Just use your own logic to look at some of the things that's going on. And from both sides, right, left, in between. Just look at it with a logical point of view. But that is really not the issue. The issue is, and I had something laid out yesterday and I forgot what it was, so I usually think about this for 10 minutes on my way into work, what we're gonna do. And so we're in, well, this is good. Yeah, this is good. I like this. So new creation, this is what I was thinking yesterday, I think anyway. We're building a show car. We don't want any flaws in this. We don't want any sin. We don't want any bad spot, but as hard as I try, I can't make this thing perfect. Even if I'm building a new car over here, over that car, we work within tolerances. I mean, there is no absolute perfect. It just needs to be within this tolerance, whether it be a 64th on some things, or if you're an ultimate machinist, then you gotta be within a thousandth. Or if you buy a brand, I used to, long time ago, work for a Ford dealership briefly as a painter. In warranty work, you're allowed 2 specs per panel. That's part of expectation out of the factory. So if you search hard enough on your brand new car, you can find a couple things on every panel, and they're gonna say, "What, are you an idiot? You know, I ain't gonna fix that. That's just part of being new. There's a little bit of flaw in everything." Except the Creator, there is no flaw there. From now on, therefore, we regard no one from a human point of view. Even though we once regarded Christ from a human point of view, we regard him thus no longer. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come. All this is from God, who through Christ reconciled us to himself and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. That is, God was in Christ reconciling the world to himself, not counting their trespasses against them, and entrusting to us the message of reconciliation. Hopefully that made sense. I'm going to read it one more time just because it was pretty powerful. All this is from God, who through Christ reconciled us to himself and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. That is, God was in Christ reconciling the world to himself, not counting their trespasses against them, and entrusting to us the message of reconciliation. So we are ambassadors for Christ, God making his appeal through us. We beseech you on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. For our sake he made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. We're all old, we're all broken, we're all sinful, we have a sinful nature, there is no fixing it, there's nothing we can do about it. Christ himself made himself sin so that he could pay the price as a sinless person, in a sinless life, so that we can be reconciled to God. Perfect. I mean, my old body and my as Paul says, I do what I don't want to do and I don't do what I want to do. I mean, we have all of our faults, our flaws. We've all sinned and fall short of the glory of God. The wages of sin is death. That's second death. But thank you, Lord. Christ came to reconcile us to God. He fixed it. He fixed the mess. There's no rusty bolts. It's all, you could say, I don't know, the tensile strength of gold. We probably don't want gold bolts, but good stainless. It's all pure stainless, polished without a blemish or whatever the thing is. This body may look rough, but we are reconciled to God through Christ. Now our job is to get out there and tell everybody else about that message. We have an opportunity to be reconciled. There's a battle going on, there's a war going on, don't be deceived. It's good against evil, it's not right against left, it's not Republican against Democrat, it's not man against woman, it's not black against white, it's not any of the crap that they're trying to pit us against each other. This is the enemy of God, the devil, the liar, the deceiver, the defeated one, the dragon, versus Christ, our God. He's King of Kings, Lord of Lords. He wins. It's just got to play out. If we told people what was actually going on, who would believe it? I think we're in a time where people just have to really see what's going on before they can believe it. So as they start seeing and recognizing that we are in a heap, and it's a bad heap, let's not lose our love. Let's not be sucked into the hate, into the whole thing. Turn the other cheek is not a weak thing. It's just stand there, take the abuse, don't back up, don't move from your point of view, don't quit loving. I mean, God loved me to the point of death. For what? I can't figure that out, but he did it. Did it for you. He did it for even those that we don't like too much. So that's the message for today. Peace be with you. It's crazy out there, but it's still a good time. We can build our hot rods. We'll see you on the next live at 11:05.